I've had to really sit with my nervous system and be like, but I can get what I want. Guess what? I'm just gonna ask for it. If someone says
Yeah.
no, then I'll ask someone else, you know, like All right. Hi everybody. Hi Anya. We're back today
Ah, we're
with
finally back.
we're finally back talking about fire.
Yes. No, and I say that because, again, once again, it's not even technical issues. It like kind of is, but I was just talking with Z. I was like, is there something I'm not seeing with this technological thing? Because I run sessions and I'm absolutely fine. And then every time me and Z go to record, there is something that happens, whether it's my laptop, my internet, or da, 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 da. Luckily the internet's working fine tonight, but the laptop decided it didn't want to charge. But yeah, we ride them waves as we always do. But I just thought I'd let you guys know that sometimes the the energies just have resistance. Like there is a lot of resistance sometimes. Like and I always like to translate the human stuff into the weird and wonderful spiritual world because I think that that's what it's about is looking at the reflections that we're given and analysing them. But yeah, like I do look at this resistance that I get a lot from when we do our videos as, like I say, in some way a good thing because it's like, well, clearly somewhere in the energies, there's powerful activations going on within our conversations for there to be so many interruptions and resistance
Yeah.
on that, So I just thought I'd share that little
I like
battle
that.
that we get.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When I have these types of things pop up, I'm always like, okay, what are we actually talking about? I make sure like I'm clear in myself. And a lot of times I do see some of those resistant energies coming through the tech, and I'm like, we're gonna do it anyways. So there.
Yeah, I love your vibe. You're just well, we'll find a way. And I'm like, yeah, we will, because I'm very much like that. But sometimes I used to carry like anxiety over being an inconvenience to people, and being
Yep.
like an issue or a problem or like a delay and not looking professional or, whatever along them lines. I really struggled with that when I first got into this world because as much as you think like just sat doing Zoom calls is easy, like physically, I understand like the concept of it physically is, but technologically and energetically and there's a lot of different nuances to it and I've really had to learn and navigate and in by no ways is myself at the level I would want it to be even now because of multiple different things, but I think it is still like that sense of just going with the true knowing in your inner self of like what feels right and just trusting that and
Oh,
also just showing up as you are and not expecting it to be
exactly.
there.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I want to circle right. The golden nugget. Just come up as you are and not expect to be anything else. Because even in this realm, like for me, even I'm like I can sometimes I go back into those spaces where I'm feeling into it and I'm like, oh, what should I put? I'm gonna be on camera. And this last weekend that I was like, I'm gonna wear my black hat, my black shirt that's cut in. I don't care. I'm coming up as myself, and I'm gonna do that every single time that comes into the space. But I've definitely like come across some judgment with that and pieces and parts that do fly up. So that was another piece that I was gonna bring through. It was like, guys, show up as yourself. Your frequency is your authentic self, no matter what it is, no matter what it looks like. I don't care. Like if you show up as yourself, that frequency is I'm attracted to it. That's why I'm in
Yeah,
this space right now. Like I'll
exactly.
be there.
Exactly that. It is just trusting your authenticity.
Like you were saying earlier with the sessions and stuff. I mean, I've had so many interesting things happen while I've been on tech with sessions where I'm like, if it bleeps, we're just gonna keep going. If it like we'll just get back on. Or sometimes I'm like, hey, the energy is done, we're not in flow. So, hit me up. We'll do the session, the rest of it next week or something like that, where when the energy's fresh. But yeah, I gotta follow the vibes.
Yeah, always. You just got to trust your intuition as well. And I think that's a big thing that's been coming up, like this newfound energies that we've been navigating. We mentioned it earlier when we was chatting, like, yes, we've been talking about this sacral aspect a lot, but that's because there's so many facets to it and there's so many like layers that's bringing up, from the shame piece, the embodiment piece, the growth, looking at where we've been holding ourselves back, looking at where we've been procrastinating, looking at where other people around us might be holding us back. And really, truly for me, there's been a real sense of like not being afraid of my own fire. You know, we was talking about it a little bit before, and I've always been a very powerful, fireful soul, like a lot of fiery energy. But because I needed to protect myself, it was way too much. So for a lot of my teenage years and my early 20s, I was deeply in like this over masculine energy, you know, protection. And not saying that that's a wrong energy, but in my body, it was a wrong energy. It was not the energy that should have been predominantly leading, but to be safe in my inner self, in my nervous system, that's the response I had to have. And so a lot of it became from being bullied at like 11, 12 years old. And I just felt completely ill equipped to be in the adult world and like out in a high school and and dealing with all these experiences when I'd never encountered anything like this before. It was just like such an overwhelming thing. And then I ended up shifting into this overly masculine to avoid that situation ever happening again, to avoid being bullied, to avoid being the weaker one. It was like, well, if you're just loud and mouthy and like
Right.
almost aggressive in some ways, then you're not going to be attacked first, you know. And I must say, in my environment, in my area, in my energy at that time, it did kind of work to survive in a very conflictual society area that I live in. There's a lot of mixed energies, and it worked. I'm not gonna lie, for a temporary thing. I'm not saying it. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but as a temporary measure as a teenager, it worked for me at that time, and it did keep me safe and never encountered anything like that again. Whether it was a consciousness thing, whether it because I believed it worked, that it did work, it could be multifaceted here. But yeah, I can't say I've ever dealt with anything like that again. But then moving into like I'd say like 21, 22, when I started to delve into my stomach problem, my solar plexus, my anger, my emotional regulation, obviously that was something I unraveled there a lot. And I worked with it a lot with a beautiful lady who was a hypnotherapist, like counselor lady. And she helped me work through a lot of the sadness that was actually behind the anger, and that really helped so much. So yeah, I think the point of what I was bringing up from that little merry-go-round we went on was um, the rage, the fire, the sacred rage, I call it. That feeling, I kind of had to turn it off for a while to learn how to tame it and to learn how to translate it and to learn how to not use it as a trauma response and not use it as a defense mechanism.
Yep.
And recently, the energy has resurfaced in me. And I always usually associate that with like guilt and fear of using that fire and that energy. But yeah, for the majority of the time it's resurfaced lately, it's felt like a necessity.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, I would have to kind of concur with that in my own masculine and fire phase, which is not. I've always had a lot of fire, like ridiculous amounts. But where I was at in my trauma, the masculine was necessary, but I really shifted into the fire really intensely because it was the strongest force that I felt like I had in there. The thing is with that is it still got overthrown and pushed down and
Mhm.
very, very much so suppressed and hurt. So I did lean towards that masculine for a good period of time. And now that's flaring back up and so is the masculine too. This dynamic, this dance is still moving its way through and back and forth. And I noticed that this fire really it doesn't have the guilt or the shame with it. It's
Mm,
really like it just goes for it, which is amazing. We don't have
yeah.
anything around that. And I don't, and it speaks up for itself and whatnot. I think the thing that's coming in for me is when it bumps up against certain perspectives. I'm going to say the masculine, when it bumps up about, with some of those perspectives and it starts to flare really intensely. And then it's for me to go, okay, how do you want to use this? How do you want to alchemize this? And what is it that's inside of me that's creating so much of that? And
Mm,
I don't really feel like at this point it's necessarily my trauma response. It's like it's t teaching me how to use it appropriately,
right.
right? Like, okay, I'm going to teach you. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be something different, even though you're feeling that inflection. And even within my own masculine, I take a look and be like, hey, well, am I forcing something? Am I pushing something? Am I controlling something here? And a lot of times it's that fire dynamic that goes, yeah, but that can be very useful in certain times. So let's see how we can use it, right?
Mm,
Appropriately.
right.
So that's
Right.
like how I'm working with that. But I have to tell you, like right off the bat, there's been a few times where I'm like, I'm gonna let it go. I don't care what happens. So
Yeah, and that's happened a lot to me. And I think something you said there really helped me clarify out the way I explain it. Because I think sometimes you have to bear with me, everybody, because when I'm talking with you guys, very rarely have we actually. Oh, I've been bitten as well by a mosquito. I've not had like a black eye. Just to let everybody know, it's very swollen. It's very, and another one on my arm. They're everywhere. But yeah, going back, I do over explain things sometimes a lot, and sometimes I need to just get straight to the point, but I'm just also translating it myself from like receiving it and downloading it to then explaining it and like putting it into words. So sometimes it is a lot for me, like it is for all of us. But the energy I think that's coming in now, as much as I referred to it in the past as masculine, because I think it was because it was like a need to protect, and it was like I have to do this to protect myself,
right,
otherwise, I don't feel safe. And whereas now this is different. It feels like I keep calling it sacred rage. So it feels like this aspect of this divine feminine and this like empowerment, but also like when we're talking about 3 weeks ago, the not giving a fuck vibe. It feels like that, but not just like it's not a disrespectful thing. It's a if
right.
I am feeling dishonored, I am going to let you know that. If I'm feeling
Yes,
less than my worth, if I'm feeling like my boundaries are being crossed and you disrespecting me, I'm going to affirm and I'm going to assert that level of reiteration of them boundaries or reiteration of that dynamic that needs to be in there with fire. And that's why it doesn't feel masculine because it's not like, oh, I want to confront you and I want to have an argument. No, that I don't want to do that. I'm not looking like to fight you and battle you and have a war with you. I'm good. I'm
right,
looking for peace out here. But if you're disturbing my peace, then I'm going to correct that.
right.
And that's like the energy that's coming in. It's like that's why it feels like sacred rage. So if anything, as much as anger is always associated with masculine energy, I feel like at this time it's not. It's almost like mama bear protection energy
Totally.
over like you're not going to lower my own inner feelings of self. And also it's knowing the difference because when I do get really angry like you, I'm being really triggered by the masculine at the moment, and that's no disrespect to the masculine. I think we're just working through the dynamics between the two over these many entwined energies over the years, and we have to unpick them. And when we physically feel things in the human form, we're going to feel it. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm really feeling triggered. And then there's times where I know I've acted out of the trauma response because I didn't feel safe. And it's in them times that I'm feeling like stressed and overwhelmed and a bit of not necessarily guilt and shame, but yeah, a little bit, I suppose, along the lines for allowing myself to be at that frequency. That's what's like really frustrating. And I know it sounds a bit selfish, but it is because I feel like I've mastered a level of self-awareness and self-regulation. And yet I'm feeling not mastered it, but you know what I'm saying? I've get to a level of
Sure.
comfortableness with it. And I feel like lately all that has gone out of the window with the way I've been tested. And it's really frustrating because I feel like there is no middle ground of communication right now between the souls, between the energies, because of the contention and energy that's been flared up. It doesn't feel like there's much of a safe place for communication and harmony, which is obviously what we need to break the cycle and move forward.
Right,
And
right.
I feel the attempts and the attempts and the attempts on both sides, but it just feels like it's not quite conducive right now. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say the communication is not quite there yet, you know.
Yeah.
Working, and it is of course like communicating with both sides of the body and how that inter works. It is a personal space, and also too like just from my experience and me just being out and about, I'm like, huh, not really. I don't feel like the full communication vibe, but I just don't feel like it's there yet. And I will fully admit, of course I've got my own stuff to work through, and I will take a look at that. And also too, I don't feel like it's there, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, well, I'm glad we're in resonance there because obviously it's no secret. I've been in a long-term partnership for a long time, and you do get in patterns and programs and cycles. And sometimes it leaves you thinking as a human, like, is this just a my situational thing? Or is this actually a thing we're working through as a collective energy and two souls and divine feminine and masculine to create a stronger union? And sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I'm really yo-yo between like where are we at here? Because there is such triggers that are being brought up. Feels like there's been waves of deep peace and relaxation and like harmony and connection.
yep.
And waves of contention. And yeah, man,
Yeah,
it's like I did not expect that. Because when I feel the level of like peace and safety and connection, it really feels like in that moment that it won't go back to a level of lower. But then it does. And then it's like, well, what is this shit? And it feels like, well, where are we at here? Because this is not even just on a personal relationship level. I feel like this with family members and friends, and I'm watching other friends with their relationships doing this. And then I'm like, oh, why is this a thing right now? Like,
right, right.
man, it's like I call it the whiplash energies that are like one to the other. It's literally one extreme to the other right now. It's so connected and harmonized, or so
Right.
not, like anger and high triggered and high fire, like we're saying.
Yeah, yeah, no, I've also like experienced that in my reality, and I'm also taking just a step back to observe like what that is for me and how I want to interact with it. And quite frankly, I've had several of these cases where I'm like, I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to participate in it. I'm backing off if that is not something that I feel safe in, or like a something that feels like it's old that's continuing, I'm gonna not continue in it. So that's kind of where I've been in my observation. And I've also been very slowed down just to see how this fire is going to interact with it. How is she going to move with that? How does she dynamically want to work with it? Are we wanting to keep certain loops and patterns for certain reasons? Like, are there aspects of it that are useful for my experience that I want to grow upon? So it's it is a day-to-day thing, and it's also just like at this point, I just don't want to interact with it. If I'm out and about and I'm feeling it, and obviously, if I need to speak up for myself or if something comes through, I will. I don't have a problem with it. Otherwise, like if I can feel it and I know it's around me, and my body's like, look, not the time to interact with it. I don't want to. If something feels like it's gonna take it down a route that's gonna keep me on repeat, I'm not gonna go there.
Yep. No, I get that. I totally get that. And that's what I think I'm struggling with because, there is this multiple layers of dynamics going on. And it feels like I said, we've got this whiplash energy. But what's most damaging, I think, if I'm being really vulnerable, is I feel this deep feminine energy like crying out to exist within me.
Uh-huh.
She's like, you need to soften, you need to be more vulnerable, you need to communicate softly, you need to ask for what you need and not be afraid to ask for what you need and value what you need with worth and love. And but then I'm not being met around me with what feels like the safety to do that. And
Right.
so I'm having like such a deep internal battle right now because this request, if you will, let's put it in that terms, to be present in me is more loud than it ever has been. But yet the alarm bells of not being safe are also very loud too.
Very
And
real.
so it's like, so how the fuck am I meant to navigate that? Because I'm literally being shown conflicting messages every day with my own inner self. And I'm aware, like you say, these could be patterns and programs in my human that's saying not safe, not safe, not safe. And is that the actual true reality of that? But then I'm reaffirmed with other actions and energies and you
Sure.
know, and so it's like, well, this is not like my own hallucinations that are creating this program. This is real life emotions and vibrations that are signaling to my nervous system that are saying that's not safe, don't do that. And then my inner self's going, oh, we need to exist, we need to be free, we need to be valued, we need to be heard. And it's like, whoa, whoa, hang on, and this real sliding doors going on. And I am not gonna lie, I'm not sure how to navigate that. I'm struggling with that, and
Towards
it's
it.
very emotional for me.
Yeah, no, no, I get that. It's like, let me just step into the washing machine for a second. Okay. I know where I'm
No
gonna
better
end
way.
up. Something might be clean, something might not be clean. I don't. It's that's the whole thing with the safety right now. The nervous system is like we're testing that. Like, is this safe? And mine's like just super clear when it's not, and when it is, and even when it is, it's like I'm gonna put some feelers out just
Yeah.
to see. And I have been in several of those occasions, like gone to a certain extent, and then I'm like, and that's not the place, right?
Mm,
Pulled back in.
mm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not it. I do have a close group of friends that I feel very comfortable with and I feel safe to express those things, but it's a small group.
Yeah.
And even then, it's, I'm gonna still test it if my body's feeling safe around certain things. And what do I do then? I feel like that feminine obviously haven't hasn't felt safe for a very long time and within me,
No, and me too. Totally
traumas
agree.
and how that's worked its way through. So it's reaffirming that it's safe, and also you have a very physical reality where like you come up against these bumpers that are like, yeah, but clearly that wasn't. So please,
It wasn't safe. Yeah.
what the fuck?
Well, I'm glad it's not just me on this bipolar feminine masculine ride because it's a very contentious one. And, again, no secret, I've spoke about my own emotions, mental health, and everything in the past. And I do experience, do whatever you want to humanize words, because I don't like to reaffirm it in the now, but it's still been very recent. But, especially after having two children, I've battled with mental health a long time. And then having two children, I had to battle with it in a different way. And it is a big battle, this, because I think the main thing that my brain has learned how to do is create a sense of false safety, to feel a sense of false calm and regulation. And that's obviously what I'm reprogramming right now. And it's interesting because, it's no secret as what we do, and what I've done for a couple of years is running retreats. And the me and Z have been speaking about a new potential idea for next year. And the main theme that came up was nervous system regulation.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yep.
you wanted me to do this? Because over the years of everything, that has been my Achilles heel, if you will. I've been working on that for a very, very long time. But then all these layers that we've all been working through, and I've been diving deep into it myself, have really shown me why that's so important right now.
Yes.
And not just that, like the importance of sisterhood and community. I can't say just sisterhood because we have a beautiful Tuesday night group with Bill, and he's a beautiful masculine
I could
energy, and
go
he's
there.
fucking amazing. Like, love Bill. I can't leave him out. But the sisterhood vibe, even from, again, because we talk a lot about men and women and masculine and feminine, but I have good friends who are in same sex relationships, and one's masculine energy, one's feminine energy. Like, this is not restricted to the human binary of things. I'm just reiterating that when we're saying this, guys. This can be, if you feel more masculine in a feminine body, more feminine in a masculine body. We're talking to the energies here, and hope you guys can translate that. I can only talk obviously from my experience of what I navigate in a relationship as a woman with a man. So that's where my perspective comes from. But man, there's so many dynamics in which this energy is playing itself out amongst the world and society. So this is not just limited to men and women. And I just wanted to reiterate that. But the sisterhood vibe, again, not just women, community sisterhood of connecting with each other. But yeah, women, especially as I went through pregnancy and birth and postpartum, I actually never have valued the importance of sisterhood and community in women more than that. And I learned a lot from going through it the first time alone, to then asking for support the second time and calling in that village and sisterhood and seeing who showed up. And it was really beautiful to not have expectation, but to have open space to allow them to have a role, and to see who showed up to did what, and had a beautiful role of themselves. And it actually allowed me to feel sisterhood and connection. And again, at the retreat that we did in Broughton Hall last year, that was such a sense of community and like connection with the group. Obviously, I was heavily pregnant and had a toddler, and I was struggled a lot physically. But having the community there and the connection of the vibration of love and the guests, everybody, it was just so beautiful, and truly was a magical time. And it really kind of, that energy is being reiterated in me at the moment, to allow this fire to exist, to allow this safety. If it's not available in your current physical space, then find it elsewhere. And that's not saying you have to leave your partners or you have to do anything fucking dramatic. I mean, if you need to do that, do it, you got to do. But what I'm saying is, on the small scale, find some form of community. Find a space, find a person, find a friend, find a therapist, find an energy worker, find something, someone to talk to, anyone just to connect with that is safe to talk to. You might actually be pleasantly surprised at people that you didn't expect that energy to be available from, if you just actually allow yourself to be vulnerable and be open, or just, like we're saying, test the waters a little bit, like open up, yeah, open it up a little bit and see how it feels, because it's so important we get this aspect out. And I struggle, like I'm saying, where to let it out with.
But like with you, with the group that we just did on my Tuesday night group, and Z joined us, and it was absolutely fantastic. It's Monday night, but we did it on a Monday. But yeah, that energy of community again felt safe to be vulnerable and to be raw and to be real, completely authentically real. And it's in times like that with people like that that I'm able to heal that inner woman wound within me,
Yes.
not being judged, not being criticized, not being looked at as and bitched about, like just being loved and held and heard and seen and shared and held in community, shared energies. That's what I think is healing my little woman heart, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I love your story so much and how you work through things and your authenticity. What you bring to the table is such a
Story time.
massive and a massive potent power, and I'm always excited to hear how you move through the
Thank
things. So
you.
thank you for that. I would have to say, from my perspective, my little group of people that I have been very integral. Like this, it's just a integral part of my experience and how I've been able to work through those spaces because at any given moment, I show up as myself, and whether that is, and I do it all the time, and I'm like a unicorn in this body, you know. That's how I like
You
to
are a unicorn.
myself, total unicorn in my body. Um, and I will show up in all types of formats. I'll show up as my little kid self and or my feminine that wants to be, up and present, very just intense in emotion. And my group of friends are so present with that my perspective, and it doesn't matter what as I show up, how I show up, where I show up. It's allowed me to just really integrate facets of myself that I never thought was possible, and not only just heal, but know that I'm already whole.
Yeah.
Know that I've already started at that point. Know that I am already worthy enough, just by having a presence. And it's not like they have to do anything either. They're just sitting,
No,
right? Like,
exactly.
I'm here
Exactly.
with you. I get
Mhm.
it.
Exactly. And sometimes I'm like feeling a type of way. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go today. I don't want to, I'm stressed. Like, oh. And then little voice in me is like, just go. You'll be all right, And I'm like, all right. Because that's my anxiety. That's my preemptive that I'm too much for people because I'm not feeling calm and balanced and aligned. So my mind tells me I'm too much. That's an old program though. So I
Yeah,
flick it
definitely.
off. I'm like, no, just go. And so I go. And then if it feels aligned. And then I've gone recently. And I've had such a lovely time. And I've not talked about anything specifically. So this is different for me because usually I need to go and talk. But
Yeah.
no, like I was just accepted for whatever energy I was in. Didn't need to talk about it if I didn't want to, if I didn't feel like bringing it up, because
Yep.
sometimes you don't. And sometimes I don't have the fucking words. Like, what are the words? I don't know what the words are for this experience because I'm still experiencing it and I don't know the words. And so that's
Yeah.
really difficult for me sometimes. And yeah, like, I think that's what I've learned sometimes, like showing up, holding space, whatever the fuck you want to call it, being a safe person. Doesn't really need to do all. You don't really need to say all, do all, be over the top about anything or, be overly kind and friendly. Like, just being there, being present,
Yep.
being real, you know. And obviously, if you feel like being kind, that's obviously a lovely frequency to do. But the point is, it doesn't need to be forced. Don't force anything.
That's the thing.
Just don't do what are you supposed to do and what you're expected to do. Do what feels right because everyone's different. Someone wants a hug, someone wants you. Just listen to them and talk to them. Someone wants a bit of advice and ask people, are you looking for a bit of advice or do you just want to be heard right now? That really helps clarify
Oh, totally.
what space they want holding because are they asking for reflections or are they asking just to be heard and seen? And when someone asks me that, I actually have to think like, shit, I don't know, let me just question that myself. And then that helps me reflect on what am I actually looking for right now out of this conversation. And so yeah, holding space for someone or being space held by someone is doesn't need to be much and it doesn't need to be as much as you're thinking it is in your head, like I was like, oh, I'm too much, I'm in this energy. That my friend didn't do anything. I didn't do anything different. I just existed. She just existed, and we coexisted together in a very accepting space. And that was enough for me that day.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
it's something as simple as somebody, shooting me a message and being like, "Hey, you know what? That makes a whole lot of sense, man. Like I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
break down too." So, something simple like that is
Yeah.
really beneficial for me. And it really doesn't, like, usually it gives me an opportunity to actually know what I want to, because I'm like, okay, what do I actually need that would be support? What would be the most supportive thing
Right.
for me? And then I'm
Hmm.
asking other people too, like, hey, yeah, I'm right here. I will sit with you, or I'll sit right beside you. And what would feel the most supportive?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
give them
100%.
opportunity too.
But I think that's important. I actually learned that. I knew them things obviously in the human, but I am a bit of a fixer. I won't lie, I'll own that. Again, maybe masculine energy to like fix things and oh, let me fix it. And someone opened up to me a couple of times, and my way, right? If I'm struggling, I do it with Uzi all the time. Like, are you going through this, or is it just me? Because I like to know that I'm not alone going through this. Like for me, that's really comforting. Don't know why, it just is. And for other people that I've helped before, when other people are going through the same thing, they find it comforting usually to have that reassurance. Whereas I shared that with someone recently, like, oh, don't worry, you're not alone. Like, we're all going through it. I've been talking to someone and I was feeling like that today and did it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then I was given a reflection that actually that made them feel really diminished, and it made them feel like really like their things weren't important and they weren't like heard at all. And I was like, oh shit, I did not obviously intend that, and they knew that, but I was a bit taken back by how that was received, because it just showed me that not always is our intention aligning with how it's received. And obviously, we can't help that. We can't always fucking preempt that. But
For sure. For sure.
I was glad that person gave me the reflection, because then it allowed me to know, well, actually, maybe you're not looking for me to fix it.
Right.
Maybe you just want me to be here to listen. And I did say, totally take that. Maybe the only thing I would offer is next time, ask me to just hear rather than offer a reflection, because I am naturally, obviously, it's the nature of what I do, it's the nature of who I am.
Or
I like to just offer fixing and advice and help and support and, love and package up in a real bow and top.
yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
sometimes
yeah, yeah.
that's not what people need. And that's definitely not what they needed right now. And they told me that afterwards. So that was definitely a learning lesson for me, but also maybe a learning lesson for them to ask more clearly for what they're looking for.
Right, right. I think it goes both ways. I've had to learn
Mm.
many lessons in that and stepping back
Yeah.
and being like, okay, I hear that da 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 da. That makes I
Hmm.
get that. That makes sense. What would feel supportive right now,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
for me, I get more direct with it because I don't want to fix her. Like I don't need anybody to fix me, okay? I can do that. I'll do the things myself. What is it that I'm looking for? Sometimes it's like, honestly, can I just have a hug? Like, maybe my
Yeah.
body needs a little bit of support in that way. Or a lot of times I'll say, can we just go play?
Yeah. I love that though. Like, again, it's always something I'm struggling with, but I'm definitely getting more open at that. And I love that you do that, because I think that's like, how much more easier would it be? I'm sure we've all experienced this when you wake up and you're feeling like shit. You probably feel like shit because you feel alone and you need a hug. But instead of asking for said hug, you go downstairs and you're all arsey and emotional and distressing.
Yep.
And then you end up getting into an argument. Then you feel 10 times worse and more alone and upset. But then you can't fucking get what you want because you've already just had an argument. So you can't now go ask for it. So, no, oh, shit. And so the
You're deep
cycle
in
goes
it.
on. Yes, but yeah, I think I've learned lately to just ask myself a few questions in that energy. Okay, what do you need right now? What do you need? Oh, as I'm speaking about that, someone's arguing outside. How interesting is this? We're just being shown a real life
Just
example of
real
this going
slowly
on.
going into it real deep.
That was really funny. I was like, what was that? But it was someone arguing. So there we
I
go,
feel
real
like
life example of
Oh yeah,
it.
for sure. I feel like the too much and not getting what I want has been a really big theme. I mean,
Hmm.
it goes for both sides, but I have seen it a lot in the feminine too, like where it's, when we're too much because we're too emotional. We
Hmm.
can't get what we want because like it's directed by fast of the masculine. So it's one of those for me too, where I've had to really sit with my nervous system and be like, but I can get what I want. Guess what? I'm just gonna ask for it. If someone says
Yeah.
no, then I'll ask someone else, like
Exactly
what's
that.
gonna happen?
That is the golden nugget. Golden nugget. And that's what I had to learn. Like, you can ask for it. If you don't get it, don't mean that you can't have it at all. It means you need to source external places of safety. And
Route.
that was key.
Exactly.
So that's a golden nugget for sure. Like,
Yep.
if you're not getting it in your relationship, if you're not getting it in your family, if you're not getting it in your friends, find external ways of finding that emotional safety to find that release. 100%.
Exactly. And that
Mm,
that goes for the universe too. Like the universe wants to give you what you
yeah,
want. You know,
it does.
I think we've not been wanting to ask for what we want because of that wounding. You know,
Hmm.
it's been a little bit like, I want this. And the universe is like, what the fuck is that? What did you say? I don't know.
They resonate. No, but I totally resonate with that. I feel like what I want is unachievable, too much, too big, too out of reach. Not how am I going to get there, you know? And then I have to check myself, like, bitch, you're never going to get there if you think like that. And it is, but it's hard. Like, we've been programmed away a deep way, and especially in my local community, it's quite a low income community. And so, you know, the options of having them things are like, you got to win the lottery, you know? And that's why it feels unachievable in the energies sometimes. And it is remembering
Yep.
to anchor into that vision, to that knowing that we are all deserving and worthy of that. Not just me, not just my kids and my life. Like everybody
Everybody,
deserves
everybody
this
happens.
universal income. It is our birthright. And
Yep.
not even just universal income, peace, health, sovereignty,
Totally.
all of them.
Community, connection,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah.
All of those facets are tied into that.
Mm-hmm.
And our nervous
Mm-hmm.
systems have been so used to that facet of it, like
Yeah.
chaos. Chaos
So
kept me
you,
safe,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. No,
That
it's
control
true.
facet kept me safe. All these things that used to keep us safe now, tapping into that source where, oh, I can ask for it. And I can ask for it from the universe too. I can be very direct with the universe.
Yes.
That's energy that wants to come back, and knowing that I can get it is, you know, working my nervous system and going, oh hey, look, I can get it. Look at that. And detach from
Mm-hmm.
the chaos aspect of it, or like the shrinking just to get what you want, or manipulation to get what you want, right?
Yeah. All of it. All of it. Man, that makes so much sense though, because lately I felt like I said it last week. I call it the mad ADHD mode, where my brain's like, but I think it's shedding the chaos is calm. I think that's what I'm trying to release, but my human's like holding on to it a little bit, you know. And I'm going on a trip tomorrow, and I notice like every time I go on a trip, it's like manic, you know, to pack everything. So obviously I've got two babies under two, and I use cloth nappies and all the washing and blah, blah, blah. And so it's like getting everything ready. It feels like a big thing, but lately I've just thought, do you know what? Like this is the part of the enjoyment. This is part of the journey and the joy. Like why are you making it? I mean, it is stressful, and I do experience that, and I have to acknowledge that. But it's also looking at the experience in a different way and the different perspective to it, and not finding the familiarity and the comfort in the chaos and the manic energies, and more finding peace, finding peace in the slowness and stillness. I find that really boring. Not gonna lie. I think when I see peace and quiet, I crave peace, and then it gets really quiet and still, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? I
Yeah.
think I'm the
World's gonna
anticipation.
crash.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, I think, well, where's my role? Where's my job? What am I doing? Why have I not got a million jobs to do? And then I crave that sense of overstimulation, even though that's the exact thing I'm looking to get rid of. And so I'm really being forced to look at that program right now and reflect on, is this serving me, and why am I calling this in, and do I really crave peace when this is what I'm creating in my life as a comfort, because it's all I've ever known. And so that is a real big one. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's definitely connected to this facet of embodiment and acceptance and expansion. And to do that, the feminine doesn't go out and do. She sits and is open and vibrationally open to receive. And yet that's an unfamiliar frequency for me. I struggle with that. So I'm definitely being taught to soften and slow and find peace in the still instead of peace in the chaos.
I think that chaos energy came in my nose. I was like, ah, I don't like it.
It's so funny how our bodies translate the
I know.
energies.
I'm like, no, I used to like it. I don't like it so much anymore. It's taken me a good long time though to be like, no, it's time for me to rest, and it's time for me to just open up to the receiving. That's where the feminine's at. It's just like, hey, why don't you just be right now and just open your arms up, you know? And healthy masculine, or at least the energy that I've been working with when it comes in that way, is just holding her and doing that. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Okay, you're right. Why
Mm.
don't you just receive for a while? Everything's gonna work all the way its way through. You can take your time with it. Because for the feminine, like in 2 seconds, she can have what she wants. All she has to do is open up her arms, right? She knows all
I,
the things, man. She's like, oh, I'll get it to you in 2 seconds. You just gotta be ready for it, buddy. You ready for it?
that's the thing. And then my body goes, no, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I'm like, what the fuck?
I was like,
And
wow. I
yeah,
mean, 3 days of, I don't think, I think that I need to know. Oh my God. You know?
and that is where I'm at. I know consciously the power and potential of this energy. I can feel it. We
Okay, yep.
speaks for itself. It's divine creation. And yeah, as a woman in a feminine energy in a body, I do feel that creative energy. It is, and this is one thing. Just before we wrap it up, I was thinking, like, you know, we had such an attack on the masculine and feminine and how they have roles in society and stuff. And as a 19-year-old, I was a raging feminist, like mad. And it some views was legit, totally resonate with that, of unjustification and suppression. Totally understand where they came from. Still hold some of them now. But a lot of it was programming and indoctrination of like, we can be the same, we can be equal, we can have the same experiences. But I don't think that we chose to have the same experiences. I think that's the point. Like, we
Yeah.
chose to have different experiences in the physical body, and we chose to show up and have different roles as a human.
Right.
And obviously, becoming a parent and a mum in a relationship with man, it's clear there is different dynamics, there is different responsibilities, there is different energies that children are drawn to and naturally find comfort and familiarity with. And it's like, it is an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Like, has that been something that's been so suppressed throughout society that now it's been like re-emerged and reborn in a new way? Or is it like, I suppose I've said like a lot then, or is it a sense of there's there is still some aspects of control being brought up to try and control, some in religion, some in propaganda, some in fear. And so is this a different aspect of control that's being brought in, of like a specific role allocated to genders, or is it maybe about finding a natural rhythm?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I just, I'm like, I don't know.
Well, I love that.
Feels like we might be exploring that arena. I like to say that it's for harmonizing, but honestly, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking though, because I don't know. I feel again the bipolar whiplash energy is going on there, because part of me is like, yeah, it's like the natural energies, but then part of me is like, but we don't live in this natural world, so that's not necessarily conducive with a fucking modern world that we live in right now. And yeah, I tried the like just
Wow.
I tried the completely fully like embracing into the total surrender of what it means to be like a traditional mom and woman, and it did work for me. I'm not gonna lie, it caused me a lot of mental stress, and now I find my own rhythm that I feel fits me more as me, but it's definitely not in the mold of what some women, I suppose it's what you also see as yourself. But yeah, I don't conform to all the norms of that, and I don't think you have to. I think that was my
Yeah,
point in the reflection is,
for sure.
it can look like whatever it looks like to you, as long as that's like aligned to your frequency. Does that make sense? I feel like I gibbered a
Totally, totally. Yeah, so just to circle that, everybody, it's all it's only what's gonna feel aligned to you and your personal
lot.
perspective, right? And what you're feeling within the self and how you're feeling about the energies. And I could definitely say that I don't know because I feel like we're still kind of figuring, we're still testing some things out. We're still
Mhm.
looking towards certain energies that are coming in and looking at the dynamics that were, and we're in the in between the two with our bodies. The bodies are like, that's what it was. This is what it is, but I don't know what it is either. So let me just like,
Yeah, that makes total sense. It is an internal battle, and I mean, I've joked and made little jokes about the words I've called it, but that's just my human humor. But it's an internal battle going on, and it's a difficult one. It's not easy, and you're allowed to feel the conflictual energies. I think is quite an important part of tonight's message. Is both can coexist. That feeling of knowing exactly where you are, knowing what you're doing, and smashing it, and that, oh, what the fuck is going on? I have no clue. Am I in the right place? What is Earth? That complete coexistence of the both can coexist, and don't feel like a failure if you're feeling like that. I think a lot of us are feeling like that right
Yeah, that is a big thing too. That's a big cycle. I definitely wanted to like bring into the space is this
now.
we haven't done enough, or the big failure piece. And from higher
Yeah,
perspective, I think we've been working through a lot of that on Earth, like, parts and pieces of us that might not have had that moving its way through and coming back into wholeness. But for me, like since it's flared up the last I would say a couple months where it's been like I'll
Mm.
go into these divots and I'm like, I didn't do that.
Yeah, yep,
Feeling
yep.
like, and then I'm like, no, that's something's moving through. But I know that if I'm feeling like I failed something or I didn't do something, then that I am not in full resonance of my aligned self because my aligned self too is shifting myself into going, wait a second, my wholeness is gonna be, I'm okay to be exactly where I'm at, no matter
Hmm.
what, right? And my trust piece is like I'm gonna trust my myself, my sacral piece, my inner child, my soul to know my timing with my body because my body's clearly going through a lot right now.
Exactly. And we have to have grace. I think that's really important. See what you've said there is I'm very impatient, especially with myself. I'm like, yo, why are you not doing it? What's going on? Why are you not doing it? And I have high expectations and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like to have shit a certain way and certain standard. And I'm really being that's all being shattered apart right now. I'm
Oh,
like,
totally. Yep.
stop doing that. That's what I'm basically being told. Stop doing this shit. Stop putting this expectation, this pressure, this perfectionist label with the videos, with the energy. That's why I bring that in at the
Yep.
beginning because it's
Yep.
always like I'm always getting stressed at myself in my head, like, why is this happening every time? And then I'm like, well, it's not your fault. Like, what can you do? You know, it's fucking not my fault. And so I'm just like letting go of that pressure on myself to be a certain level. And that's just one example. It's a small technological example, but it's relevant and it's
Totally.
been reflecting in a big way in my life. But yeah, I just love this space we hold for each other and for obviously, hopefully, everybody else that watches and connects in terms of just giving you the space, permission to be exactly whoever you are in this current moment and whoever that is going to become, and just giving grace for that process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I'm just gonna make it work.
I've been doing it all night, literally speaking gibberish. I'm like, yo, what's going on?
Gibberish. Hope y'all have some grace in there.
Literally.
But no, guys, get real with yourself. Again, I always say, look at your own perspective. Question us, and really, really settle in with how you feel about things. Giving yourself grace, maybe some rest. Right now, I feel like it's been a lot of that. I've tried to push and force a few things, and guess what? That's not this energy. I'm not gonna ever be able to work in that space again, right? It's just not where it's at.
Yeah, I get that. Totally get that. Yeah. And a lot of new things are going to be birthed out of this energy. So don't have fear of where this is going. There's going to be a lot of good shit, and I know that this is going to be the start of new communities, new projects, new this creation is coming, and we've got a new little project that we will be sharing when we create more into the human realm. But there's definitely some exciting things next summer. So keep your eyes peeled for the information coming out on that, and I'll give you a little snippet tonight on the nervous system work. But there's going to be a lot more and a lot of physical integration, and we will be moving through it a lot to be able to help translate that into the human as well. So,
Absolutely.
I appreciate your space that you hold and the space that you guys, anybody that watches holds, and just the connection that we all provide to each other. It's just really beautiful. So thank you everyone, and I'm really sending a lot of love out at the moment. I think we all need it, and just be open to receiving it.
Absolutely. I'm gonna send out some play, some joy,
Yes,
creation. I'm
please
gonna
do.
get in that vibe because
Yeah,
that's how I shift it.
yeah. No, and I
And
need that. I need a bit of that too. Send that my way.
I mean, it doesn't mean I go into my phases and I don't cry, but a lot of times I'll do it by a river and I'll have my paint book with me. That way, after I cry, I can paint something.
No, I do. I absolutely fucking love that though. Pure alchemization, and I'm working on my own what feels right, and currently I'm definitely shifting and changing what feels right, and I'm just working through what does. And I think the play aspect is really important. I think I need to remember that massively, so hopefully other people do as well. Golden nugget again.
Nugget. All right, Anya, you're amazing. I love working with you. Thanks for showing up as you do and carrying all of that wisdom that you do. It's always exciting for me. And everybody, if you got any questions, please pop them below. Please subscribe, and we're looking forward to doing more with you guys.
Woo-hoo.
Love you.